Right, all praise to the Most High. Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. It's Brother Marquas coming back with a quick video. Right, first and foremost, want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai. Right, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai would be the name of His Son, who the world will call Jesus Christ. All right, shalom to the shalom to the brothers and sisters that's out there throughout the four corners of the earth, doing this work in truth and in sincerity, exalting the name of the Most High, and doing what you can do to put your break in for the nation. Right, shalom to my brother. Right, mighty brothers are called through the Spirit, and this is on my spirit to touch on this video, or the topic as you see is having your eyes focused on the kingdom, or something to that effect. All right, this video is going into having your eyes set upon the kingdom, and really not being thrown to and fro. All right, but keeping your eye focused and remembering what you're laboring for in this truth. You know, it's easy to forget in this world while you're in this truth, with all the diverse distractions, all the diverse vanities and the lusts and the bright lights and the, Satan throws a lot at you to get you distracted. You know, brothers got families, sisters got families, got kids, got work issues, and you can't chill in this world. And sometimes that can have your mind slip on why you're in this truth, and your sole purpose, or one of the sole purpose, is for being in this truth is striving for the kingdom and receiving the promises. All right, shalom to Don Israel. All right, so I want to kick it off with the classic, Deuteronomy 28 and verse number 1. Again, remember while you're in this truth, one thing that you cannot forget is the promises that the Most High has laid up. All right, this Deuteronomy chapter 28, all right, and verse number 1, right, and it reads, Deuteronomy 28 and verse number 1, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And that's something to remember in this thing. The Most High, as we know, Deuteronomy 28 and 15 on down goes into the curses. And those are curses that we're obviously living out right now. But if you endure, or if you keep your eyes single, if you keep your mind on the prize, the Most High said it's going to come a time in the near future, right, when your life will be literally overtaken with blessings. You know, if you in this world, if you an Israelite, you know what's going on. That's something hard to even fathom. Having your life overtaken with blessings. And that's one of the chief goals that we look for, and during this lifetime, and keeping our focus, whether you catching hell, you dealing with any issue, remember, have your eye focus on being overtaken with blessings. It's gonna come a time, right, where you will be overtaken with blessings if you do something as simple as keeping your eyes on the kingdom, keeping your eyes on the Most High Yahushua. Right, reading on, it says, and overtake thee, and if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. All right, let's go to the book of Proverbs 4 and 26. All right, I want to, I'm kind of I want to get it in another translation, but we're going to read it in the KJV instead. Right, Proverbs 4 and verse 26. Right, Proverbs 4 and 26, it says, ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. So the Most High said you have to ponder the path of your feet. In simplest terms, that's, having your eyes single, being focused. Know what steps you're taking. You have to ponder the path of your feet. All right, you have to know, again, just playing upon tables, know what steps you're taking. All right, because the Lord said in 2nd Esdras, the 7th chapter and the 8th chapter, and in Matthew the 7th chapter, it's easy, roughly paraphrasing, it's easy to fall to the right hand or fall to the left if you're not keeping your eyes single. That's one of the chief things you want to pray for too, is that the Most High, all in all, guides your path. And that he has your mind focused on the prizes, right, and the promises that's prophesied thereof. I want to get that in. That's Proverbs 5 actually, and 21. All right, linking up with Proverbs 4. That's Proverbs 5 and verse 21. It says, for the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. Pray that the Most High ponders all your goings and the pathways of righteousness. You have man, obviously the Most High, he controls man, and he does what he wants with man. But pray that the Most High is pondering your path in the ways of righteousness. It's evil men out here, and the Most High is pondering their path in the ways of wickedness, vanity, death, and destruction. That's the path that they're going down. But you, being in this truth, you have to pray and remember that the Most High, he's pondering your paths. But you have to make that intercession and pray that he ponders them in the ways of righteousness. Have your mind set on the righteous, goals that he has set out. I want to get that in 2 Corinthians. I believe that's 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse number 1. Right? If it's not it, then you know it is what it is. But let me find this quick precept. 2 Corinthians 7. Yep, 2 Corinthians 7 and 1. It says, having therefore these promises, dearly beloved. So even Paul, what did he do to exhort the church of Corinth? He reminded them of the promises, right? He reminded them of the promises that set forth. It says, I'm going to read that again. Having therefore these promises, right, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit. It says, perfecting holiness in the fear of our God. So again, even Paul, what did he do? He exhorted the church and reminded them about the promises that we have set forth unto us. Right, let's go to the book of Matthew 7. And I see a brother brought out a quick precept. All right, Matthew 6 and 22. It says, the light of the body is the eye. All right, that's a good precept. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. What does that mean, if your eye be single? Meaning your eye has to be focused on one thing. If your eye is focused on one thing, which is the light, that light being Yahawashi and the things that pertain unto Yahawashi, if your eyes is focused on that light, your whole body is going to be full of light. Vice versa, if your eyes is focused on darkness, hey, read what the Lord said about the men whose eyes are shut up in darkness, greatly paraphrasing. Matthew 13 and Isaiah the 1st chapter, right? Psalms the 69th chapter. Right, if your eyes are full of darkness, then you're technically the blind leading the blind into the ways of destruction. But like, again, the beautiful precept that the brother Don Israel put out, Matthew 6:22, if your eyes is single on that light, your whole body is going to be full of that light, which is the Lord, and the promises and the things that pertain unto the Lord. All right, let's go to the book of Matthew 7 and 13. Salakia. All right, Matthew 7, and I'm running close on time, right? Nevertheless, it's Matthew 7 and verse 13. And it reads, it says, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go therein. And again, that all goes back into the seduction spirit of this world. Not just in Babylon, all right, not just in, in your respective city, but throughout the four corners of the earth. Many men are striving to rush and run into that wide gate, all right, that gate that just seems so beautiful and so comely, and it has the yellow brick road and is deceitful to the, to the eyes. Everybody's running to that gate. Why? Because, like, again, the brother put out Matthew 6, their eye is not focused on that true light. But what does it say? Verse 14. It says, because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few be that find it. All right, be that person that's looking upon that narrow gate. A narrow gate or a narrow opening is something that's, real small. All right, something that's real small where only one man can kind of fit through at a time. You gotta, kind of twist your body and squeeze in there. That's that narrow gate. Have your eyes on the narrow gate. All right, and again, that narrow gate, have your eyes, represents you being focused, your mindset, right, your thought process, remembering Yahawashi, remembering the Most High, and remembering the promises that he set forth. That we have, it's a lot of things to remember that comes with the promise. You got this big book. This whole book is more than just commandments and judgment and death and murders, all right, and the Most High destroying nations. This book is also filled with the promises of the Israelites, man. Having, it's so many. All right, the kingdom of heaven, having dominion over the nations, right? Being at peace, all the promises in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, having the 12 apostles in the midst of us, being kings and princes upon the earth, multiple wives, and it's so much. You know, drinking yan with the Lord, having to praise the Most High forevermore. All these things are the promises that is set before us, man. And if you let these promises slip at any time, you know, that's a vulnerable state where sin can jump in your mind and have you to get you to go off. That's why we read earlier in Proverbs, the 5th chapter, verse 21, Proverbs 4 and 26. You have to pray that the Most High ponder your footsteps and, you know, leads your mind in the pathways of righteousness. All right, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra 6. Actually, 2nd Ezra 7. All right, the classic. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse number 6. All right, and it reads thus. It says, there is also another thing. A city is builded, and is set upon a broad field, and is full of good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall. We just read that in Matthew 7. That this road, this entrance, is extremely narrow. This thing is not a easy, universal, everybody can come and partake in this. No, this thing it's a narrow path. Not only is it narrow, you gotta find this narrow path. It's not this yellow brick road where it's just, you know, Dorothy and the lion and the Tin Man and the scarecrow and the damn dog, what's his name, Toto, I think, something like that. You know, they just jolly skipping down the yellow brick road. This is not that truth. All right, this truth again is full of hardships, narrow roads, having fire on the right hand and deep waters to your left, and all the midst of that hell, and all the midst of that furnace. This thing is about keep your eye focused, keep your mind focused on the promises, and most importantly, on your Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Reading on, verse 7 again. It says, the entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left the deep waters, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? Right? If you never endure, hey, let's closing for the Passover, right? You know, we had a mighty unity closeout with the brothers at HOI and Angels of Yahweh, Walls of Jeshurun, you know, throughout the city of Chicago. Brothers came together to close out the Pesach. And we went over Polycarp and his martyrdom, right? And when you go into Polycarp and his martyrdom, you know, it's a very extremely high spiritual testimony that the brother had. And when you read about his testimony, he had to go through the fire. Literally, he went through the fire, you know? So when you read this in Matthew 7, the Lord said again, if he doesn't, paraphrasing, I'm just reading, right? That latter part, 2nd Ezra 7 rather, Salakia. 2nd Ezra 7, the latter part in verse 9, it says, if this, Salakia, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? If you never endure the hell and the affliction that's set forth before you, then how in the hell are you going to inherit the great things that the Most High has saved up for you? You know? But again, through all the hell, and I exhort brothers to go into Polycarp, read about his martyrdom, read about how he exhorted himself, read about how the Lord was dealing with him, and see how he took on joyfully those great pains. And he endured that, and now he's counted amongst the elect, right? Again, when you go into Polycarp, he was one of John's apostles, right? He learned under John. And he has a very spiritual martyr. I mean, all the rest of the apostles, go into the death of these apostles and link that up with your life and put yourself in their mindset. And if they can go through what they went through for the Lord and receive everlasting life, and so can you. And what you're going to come to find is that in all those accounts, they always kept their mind on the Lord and the promises, man. Again, never take your mind off the promises of the Most High. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1. All right, I got a couple right now. You know, time might fail me to get all I want. Nevertheless, it's the 2 Peter chapter 1. I'm going to just get right to the point of verse 10. All right, this is the book of 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse number 10. And it reads, therefore, the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and your election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. All right, when you read from verse 5 on down, all right, Peter is giving off a list of beautiful attributes that man needs to abide by in order to become the elect. You read about those attributes and you apply them to your life. Peter said, if you do these things, ye shall never fall. A part of remembering the promises is doing the things that you need to do in order to inherit and receive the promises. Read Galatians the 5th chapter, verse 22. Read 2 Peter the 1st chapter, verse 5 on down. Read Romans the 8th or the 5th chapter, you know, and read about Romans 8 5 on down. Read about the things that the Most High, it's like Romans 5 and 3 on down. It's like read about these diverse chapters and verses, right? Brothers are giving off lists on what to do and how to inherit and become the elect, the fruits of the Spirit, enduring with patience. You know, and these different lists is going to cause you to never fall. So again, if you want to receive the promises, right, you want to see the Lord, you want to sit at the table with the apostles, you have to do the actions that's written out, right, in order for you to receive these diverse promises as well. And shalom to the brother Lahabia, right, mano not mano, right, shalom to the brother. I'm going to read this quick precept that the brother put on the comment board, Matthew 19:24. It says, and again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Right, and that's right. You know, that eye of a needle, that represents that narrow path as well. You know, I believe you go into the eye of a needle, that's it's a small door opening when you go into it, where a camel, you know, couldn't even fit it, you know, kind of fit through there. But that's all symbolic and spiritual on how hard it is to enter into that straight and narrow path and gate, greatly paraphrasing, you know. Nevertheless, let's go to Acts. Man, I gotta see what I want. Let's go to Romans chapter 8 and 35. How many more precepts I got? Actually, let's go to Acts, right? I have a few more. Let's go to Acts 7 and verse 57. Gotta kind of run through these, right? It's the book of Acts chapter 7 and verse 57, right? Going into the mighty brother Stephen, right? Acts 7 and verse number 57. It says, then they cried out with a loud voice and stopped their ears and ran upon him with one accord. So when you read this account, this is the account of Stephen and his martyrdom, him giving up the ghost, right, and being unjustly killed for doing the work of the Lord. And as we read this, we have to analyze his mindset in the midst of him being in this fiery furnace, being stoned, being brutally murdered in a gruesome way. Where was his mind at? And ask yourself, where's your mind at this very moment? Acts 7 and 57. Again, it says, then they cried out with a loud voice and stopped their ears and ran upon him with one accord and cast him out of the city and stoned him. And the witness laid down their clothes at the young man's feet, whose name was Saul, right, who was, Paul. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon the name of Yahweh and saying, Lord Yahweh Shai, receive my spirit. And he knelt down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. So in the midst of Stephen catching hell, being brutally murdered, persecuted, where was his mind at? His mind was stayed on the Lord. His mind was focused on spiritual things. His mind was in above, while those carnal men's mind was beneath. And again, that's just an example, right, of a brother, again, in the midst of fire. And as he's in the midst of fire, where's his mind at? On the promises, remembering the Lord, remembering Yahweh Shai. Let's go to the book of Romans 8 and 35, right? And it reads, who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, we are killed all the day long. So, for as it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep to the slaughter. Jumping down to verse 39, it says, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Hamashiach. It's like for the love of God, which is in Hamashiach Yahushua, our Lord. You know, and in this truth, the mindset is one of the chief mindsets that you have to have. No matter what you go through in this life, again, all the distractions, your family, your job, depression, these spirits hopping upon you. You have to have it installed in your mind and download it in your spirit that nothing can ever separate you from the love of the Most High and the Son Hamashiach Yahushua. Right, the minute that what's the word I'm looking for? That mindset that you have leaves from you, that nothing can separate you, you're now allowing Satan to enter in and to corrupt your spirit and your faith. Have it spiritually downloaded in your mind and in your spirit that nothing can never separate you from the love of Hamashiach Yahushua. Be Peter in the spirit, be James in the spirit, be John in the spirit. These men went with the Lord whithersoever he will. You know, they ran with him to the tombs. You know, whatever the Lord was at, he was at. You know, or they were at, rather. Apply that same zeal to your own life. And have that understanding again in verse 39 that nothing can never separate you from the love of Hamashiach Yahushua. All right, let's go to, let's go to Hebrews 4:1. All right, this may be the last precept. Actually, let me get this and then I'm going to get one more. All right, Hebrews chapter 4 and verse number 1. It says, let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left of us, entering into his rest, any such seem to come short of it. Meaning what? Like our fathers in the wilderness. All right, we read Hebrews, the 2nd and 3rd chapter, right? It goes into our fathers in the wilderness and how a lot of them fell short entering into the promised land. The only ones that never failed was Caleb and Joshua, which is why they were able to enter in. But again, reading verse 1 again, it says, let us therefore fear, lest a promise, there go that word again, a promise, lest a promise being left of us, entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. And no man should seem to come short when it comes to this rest or to this promise. You know, you come short of it, that means you, that playing upon tables, that means you got destroyed. You know, why did these men fall short in the first wilderness? Because they let Satan enter to their mind. I read 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. Read about the Exodus and you read about how you were in the wilderness. Our fathers' minds was corrupted. And they had all manner of spirits and their emotions override their love and their remembering the goodness of the Most High. We read Hebrews 4 again. All right, the author of Hebrews is letting you know to never forget, lest you do forget, these things are, you know, going to be left from you. Jumping down to verse 11. It says, let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. This applies to us right now. He said, remember, lest any man fall following that same example of unbelief. Or do not be the one that becomes an example of the unbelievers. Again, read 1 Corinthians 10 and then read, you know, how we were in the wilderness. That same mindset that we had in the wilderness, you want to, you know, learn from that and learn how not to act from that. Because again, least you forget, you will be numbered amongst the same men, had that same judgment out and that outcome that our fathers had in the wilderness. Let's go to Sirach 43 and 30 and close out with this. All right, this is Sirach 43 and 30, and it says, when you glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as ye can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when you exalt him, put forth all your strength and be not weary, for ye can never go far enough. Right? And no man can never go far enough when it comes to serving the Most High God. Keep your mind right on the promises of the Lord. Exhort yourself. Remember the accounts. Remember what the Most High has laid up for you. And fight and labor and endure to enter into that rest. Don't give yourself over to spirits. Don't give yourself over to folly and vanity and unto this world. Give your mind, body, and soul unto the Lord, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. And with that, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. Most High willing, that was edifying. Lord willing, brothers and sisters, have a mighty night through the spirit and power of the Most High. Spirit and power of the Most High. With that, I want to say, Kwam Yashala, Shalom.